Welcome back, everybody. In section 2, which we're moving into now, we are going to look at everything that we should think about before we even begin putting pen to paper and actually writing our letter. And the first of those things is to think about the different types of letter that you might have to write, the different types of tasks. So understanding the types of letter tasks that appear in writing task 1 for the general training module. So there are 3 different letter types. Bear in mind, I'm not talking about the purpose of the letter here, but the type of letter, specifically the tone of the letter. And these are informal, semi-formal, and formal. So you'll have to write either an informal letter, a semi-formal letter, or a formal letter. What does this mean? Well, let's think about this in terms of a practice exercise. I'm going to put down 3 tasks on the screen now, and I want you to see if you can match up the tasks to the letter types, either informal, semi-formal, or formal. So have a look at these tasks now and see if you can match them to their respective letter type. Okay, if you've done that, let's see if we can put them in the right order. Okay, so the informal task is: you recently received a letter from a friend asking for advice about whether to go to college or to try to get a job. You think he or she should get a job. Write to this friend. So we know this is an informal letter because we have language like friend. Really important that you look for language like that when you are looking at the task. The semi-formal letter: your neighbours have recently written to you to complain about the noise from your house or flat. Write to your neighbours. Now, your neighbours, this suggests a more semi-formal tone, not quite as strong a relationship as you would have with a friend, but not as distant or cold as you would have if you were writing to the manager of a hotel, for instance. Let's have a look at the formal letter. You work for an international company. You have seen an advertisement for a training course which will be useful for your job. Write to your manager. So because this is in a work setting and this is your superior, it's your manager, this is likely to be a more formal letter. Now do bear in mind that these boundaries are not so clear. You know, there can be some overlap between the informal and the semi-formal, and the semi-formal and the formal. But the best thing you can do is to try to identify particular words that help you to place the letter type, to help you to try to identify which of the 3 letter types would be most appropriate for the task. Friend, informal; neighbour, semi-formal; manager, formal. Those words should help. The tone of the letter is, of course, one of the most important aspects to consider, these letter types, tones. But the purpose of the letter deserves just as much attention. As we saw from the last lecture in the band descriptors video, it's very important in order to achieve a band 7 or above that we present a clear purpose to the letter, with the tone consistent and appropriate. So both of those things very important. So here are just some of the different purposes that can appear when writing letters. We can write letters of complaint, praise or thank you, apology, request, application, resignation, explanation, advice, and also invitations and arrangements. Now some tasks might even have an element of 2 or even 3 of these purposes, and maybe there are some purposes that I've missed here as well, but the important thing is just to identify what the purpose is in your letter. So, and we'll be looking at this later, in your first sentence you can clearly identify that purpose and you can clearly state the purpose of your letter. Almost all of these letter purposes can require a formal, semi-formal or informal style depending on the context, depending on to whom you are writing. Now this seems to present a huge array of different question types, but don't worry. The structure of every one is going to be pretty much exactly the same. As you will see, a similar structure can be used for each and every purpose and style, and many letter expressions, so certain lexical expressions, certain vocabulary and phrases can be used across multiple letter purposes. Okay, so that was just a brief look at the different letter types and the different letter purposes, and in the next lecture we're going to look at a model answer so that I can give you a better indication of what we'll be looking at over the duration of the rest of this course.